Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Long time no video from my side. Little bit of bench talk only. I'm quite lazy actually. Happily tinkering around with my Orlandos mainly, my Hobby Plus and SCX24 and Rock Hobby Micros. Thought it's time to make a video and I will show you my SCX24 Rock Bouncer build. But if you think now that's a super cool truck, I will agree, it looks super cool, but the performance is not. So it's probably not the final state of this. It's with a brushless in-runner motor. And as we already know now, those do not really perform well. I finally will have to buy them new Mofo RC Outrunner, I guess, even if it's quite expensive to Europe, including customs. But what's that? I don't even know if that's an SCX24, because there was not one single part of an XL SCX24 in this truck. That's my full metal chassis. I showed you already in a video, so that's the XL SCX24 full metal chassis. What's, as you saw in the video, simply a copy of the Chevy chassis, and a body I found in my mess. I did already buy 3-4 years ago, probably. That's one of those spare bodies that were sold on Banggood. I guess I paid only $4 or $5 or $6 for it, for cheap, toyish 1 to 18th or 1 to 20 trucks, and that's quite a nice body. It does have metal plates. There was ugly white paint or white lettering, which could be removed easily only by using acetone, so I didn't even have to sand or paint it. The black is awesome. And of course there were ugly Phillips head silver screws. I exchanged those to scale hex 2mm screws. But this body fits really, really nicely. Even the interior. Don't have to remove the interior using this body. I don't know if it's available somewhere. Still, on Banggood I didn't find it. And here you see the in-runner motor. I tried the X-Team 1230 in-runner with 4500 kV, and yes, it performs, but it does not perform really well. So you see, you can climb, but as soon as you have any resistance, there's a little bit of cogging. But this motor does have some advantages compared to the Surpass Hobby rocket motors. Those are those ones, because those are much larger and do have 2mm shafts. You see, I sanded already a shaft in one of those 2500 kV rocket motors, but mounting those is a pain. Mofo RC already does offer a mount for those motors. Maybe I will order those too, but they don't perform that well. They never will perform as well as a Komodo or a Surpass motor, Outrunner motor, but those huge Outrunners, did already see, I'm not the biggest fan of those. Wouldn't be able to mount them here with the body. I do have a Furytech Lizard inside. It works nicely. I disabled the function of the on-off button in the Furytech Lizard. You can do this by the app, and that's a must for me. Meanwhile, after I had nearly destroyed a LiPo for the 3rd time because I forgot to unplug the battery after switching off the ESC. Probably you know this too, playing around with some different trucks, switching on off, and after that forgetting to plug off the battery in the Lizard, and next day overnight batteries are empty, 1.5 volt per cell or whatever. There would be also a lot of room for the ESC here below the mounting plate, but in the Lizard it's a little bit difficult because sometimes maybe you want to change something, one plug on the Bluetooth dongle. So it sits here, and here you see the only SCX24 part I used in this truck. There is not more. I had to remove the metal mounting plate for the electronics and for the shocks. Why that? Because again, I use the magnets for switching on off lights. So I don't want a wiring mess. So I use the magnets, and of course, if this part, if the stands are made out of metal, this would not work. What else did I do in this full metal chassis? It's an awesome chassis, really. I like it a lot, but it's too expensive. I removed, of course, the battery mount. I removed the front mount. I could even shorten the frame here. That's not necessary anymore. And I exchanged the servo mount, which does not fit to Emax servos anyway, even after modification, only to smaller servos, to one of those new servo mounts. You can get the new ones without a plate on the back side, which fit perfectly to the Emax servos. Before I found those, I always used some 3D printed. I printed quite a lot of those servo mounts, but those new brackets, they work really fine. And you see, Emax servo fits perfectly, and there's also enough clearance here to the frame, so I didn't have to cut it. That's always irreversible. Cutting the frame, same thing here. That's the mounting bracket, 90 degree angle. Maybe this would be nicer that way. I don't know. I think I know. But cutting the frame here and making a new hole, placing the bracket a little bit more in front would maybe look better. But on the other side, then you couldn't drive that way, as you can see here in the video now. And back to the motor, to the 4500 kV 1230 X-Team motor. Those motors do have advantages to the rocket motors. That's a 1232, that's 8000 kV, I guess, from my old days, planes or helicopters. And this motor does have a 1.5 millimeter shaft, so you can use the stock pinions and also the screws, the mounting places on the motor mounting plate will fit on the original SCX24 motor mounting plate, at least if you use a 11-tooth pinion, as I do here now, the metal 11-tooth pinion that came with the metal chassis, quite loud, you will hear it later. If you would like to use 10, 9, 8 tooth, or I do even have a 7-tooth pinion, but this wouldn't work anymore, I guess. You would have to modify the mounting plate. But with the 11-tooth pinion, it fits perfectly. It needs 1.6 millimeter screws for mounting. And you see the motor fits nearly without modification. I had to make a little notch here to the frame. Don't know if that was even necessary because it's a little bit too long. However, even if this motor does only have 4500 kV, performance is not absolutely awesome. And it's the same with those smaller ones. Many people tried those already. I guess this one does have 11,000 and this one 10,800 kVs. Performance is not good and even not with the rocket motors, there's always a little bit of cogging. So you can go super slow. Check it out. Not as slow as with the Komodo or the Surpass motor, of course, but you see, as soon it does fine. But as soon as there's a little bit of resistance, you hear cogging. It's not super bad, but it's not super nice either. I will show you the driving performance of this bad truck a little bit later, but first let's talk a little bit more about the chassis and what I modified. I didn't use the rims, they are nice, that came with the full metal chassis. I exchanged them to those Injora rims. Those are the same as I do have here in my digger, and those ones. And what I really like, you know, those Injora rims do normally come with those 1.4mm screws where you need a 1.3mm hex driver. So those screws, and it was not possible to get scale hardware for those. That's no performance upgrade, of course, and I know most of you don't care about this, but I really like this stuff. For the RC four-wheel drive, still is you could get hardware, scale hex hardware, 1.6mm, but not for the Injora wheels. And now, recently, for some time now, Injora offers, only in silver, 1.4mm scale hardware, and I really like this, and of course I ordered it. So those are those tiny screws. Can I show them to you? 1.4mm for those rims, and I exchanged them in my Rock Bouncer, and I also exchanged them in the Injora wheels of my small SCX24 digger. I really like those rims. They are cheap, work awesome. They don't look very scale, but for trucks like the Bouncer or my digger, I think they are awesome. And you do even get a mounting tool for those screws, and they are not super expensive, cheaper than the other ones. You get even a tool because you need a 1.5mm socket hex driver for mounting those. You can use it with your power tool maybe, but of course a real good tool, 1.5mm, that's from German company Via, still works better than this simple tool you get. However, you get a tool to mount those screws, and I really like it, even if my SCX24 or other trucks do not drive better with those. And the wheels, the tires, those are the Injora Super Swampers, which are labeled All-Star here. So those are 60mm tires, and I think they look quite awesome. Unfortunately, performance is not awesome. And they are nearly the same size. Thank you. As the mudslingers of RC four-wheel drive. I guess 1mm. I guess those have 61, those 60. However, performance of the mudslinger would be much better, but they look good and they are okay. Of Injora does have quite a lot of new tires now, and since I made an order from Injora, I ordered all that were available, I guess, and I don't really know what's the big difference, because you get them unlabeled. I labeled them, and that seems extreme mud terrain in 1, 2, empty, 3, 4, and they seem only to differ in size. And even if they look quite nice, really nice, they are not super sticky. And those are the Injora Super Swampers. The Injora Super Swampers seem to be better than those extreme mud whatever, but in my opinion the RC four-wheel drive, or those, the new, forgot the name now, the Chinese company they offer two different types of wheels. They are much stickier than those new Endura wheels, and the Endura Rock Tire Super Swamper, the first one they released, I guess, it seems also to be a little bit stickier. However, performance is not everything for me, otherwise I wouldn't build a truck like this one. What I really like is the body. This body, $5-6, awesome, and it fits nearly perfectly. You only have to cut a little bit on the wall here. You can keep the total interior, but the interior and mounting with magnets works awesome. And the light connection. The interior is a little bit comical, as mostly in those tiny truck interiors. So that driver figure, I had to take a 1:32 Siku tractor driver figure, which I normally use for Orlando's. Those are those ones. You get them on eBay. Siku 7071, super cheap. And the head is from a 1/18 Indiana Jones figure. I cut the head a little bit, so I do have a comical driver, but I do have a driver. For me, such a truck does have to have a driver. Looks very strange if there's no driver inside. And I also used the axle wideners from Triel, which I had to sand quite a little bit, the hex, to make them fit to the Endura rims. So I guess 4 or 5 millimeter each side, or even 6 millimeter. So it looks really nice. It does not perform super nice. One reason is the motor. So the InRunner doesn't perform that well. But another reason for sure is the weight. Check the weight of this truck. You see it does have 400, I hope you can see it, 57 grams, including battery. And check a battery, including battery inside, a stock battery. And the stock battery does have 228 grams. So 228 grams versus 458 grams, 228, 457 by 2 times is 456. So this truck is twice as heavy as the battery is. Another disadvantage of the full metal chassis, but I don't know if you should call this disadvantage, and full metal gears is the sound. So it's really quite loud. I thought initially, because this motor does have 4500 kV, I would have to use a smaller pinion, but because of the motor mounting difficulties, I used the stock 11-tooth pinion, and now I'm glad I did this because it's not fast. Check this out here. That's maximum speed, so it's not much faster than a stock SCX24. Speed is totally okay. But now let's check how it performs. I made some obstacles, like my branch hill. It has a flat and a steeper side. It's no problem for my bouncer to climb the flat side, but it has really troubles and hardly succeeds climbing the steep side. So that's not an easy obstacle. However, I guess the tires, Endura tires, are not the best, but main problem is it's super heavy, and those brushless motors, they lack the punch. You would need here a little bit of punch to get here now. Punch. And it's nearly impossible for my bouncer to climb my branch timber hill on the steep side. that's not fair because it was outside of the obstacle. Here you would need punch, drop, and then the motor does not bring this punch. So super hard to climb this side with my bouncer. But check for comparison how the Betty does. Betty does much easier. It's super light and it is a problem, but not in every try, but Betty can climb it quite nicely. And of course my digger, which performs awesome, no problem at all at medium speed, full speed, super slow speed. Here you see a little bit of punch, and of course awesome tires too, so no problem for my digger. And I also made an obstacle out of river stones, also with a steeper and a flatter side, and that's super slippery, and that's really a difficult obstacle, not on this side, on the flat side, but here on the steep side, the first step, that's really not easy. And it doesn't only hard, it simply is not able to climb it really. Many tries. Many falls, and if it gets up, even up on the hill, it's difficult because it's that slippery. Come on, no. So this was too hard for my bouncer, but it didn't have any damage. What's a super advantage was I really like it. That's super sturdy, probably my sturdiest truck. But let's check how the Betty does on this Riverstone obstacle. She does it. It's also difficult for the Betty and doesn't climb it in every try. Of course, I showed you only now successful tries, but she's really good here because probably she's so light. And the digger not much better than Betty here, but of course digger is able to climb it too, but it's super smooth and super slippery on the hill. But those RC four-wheel drive mud bashers, they perform awesome. So that's really quite an awesome truck, even if it's not set up for performance. And now let's check how steep it can climb. "50° here is grip tape, so super grippy surface, and it will do 50°, but it's quite difficult to get backwards because it's so heavy, so have to be very careful. And now let's try 51° with super grippy surface. Tires shouldn't be that important here. It's doing hard, but as you can see, it's able to climb 51 and will fall, and 52 degrees finally. No way for the bouncer 52 degrees. Will the Betty climb 52 degrees? Let's check it. Absolutely stock Betty, 52 degrees. Not easy, but she's able to do it. And the digger on 52 degrees, no problem at all. And even going back, no problem at all. And now let's check on smooth surface. There it's more a factor of the tires. So let's check how my bouncer will climb on the right side of my incline. Let's try and start with 48 degrees. He's able to do it, but with a lot of difficulties. And 49 degrees. No way. So 48 degrees is the maximum he can do on the smooth surface, and let's check the 49 degrees with the Betty if she can do it. Stock Betty on 49 degrees on the smooth surface with stock tires. Yeah, better than my bouncer, but still not easy. Not really. So a little bit better than the super heavy rock bouncer. And my digger, 49 degree RC 4-wheel drive tires, no problem at all. You can even stop and start again. So I really love this truck. It's awesome performance, even if it's not brushless and only a barrage motor. So more shine than performance, but super sturdy. Even a stock Betty with stock tires does perform a little bit better than my super expensive SCX24 Rock Bouncer, which isn't even an SCX24. So what do you think about this truck? A lot of effort for bad performance, but a cool look, I think. I'm not sure if I will let this brushless in-runner in this car with the Puritech ESC. I probably will have to order the Mofo RC, the small outrunner. This seems so awesome. Didn't read and find a lot about it so far, only from Mofo RC, but it seems super cool. But shipping to Europe with customs, that's always the problem. But he also does offer the brackets for mounting the PN motors, the new PN SCX24 brushed motor, and there are more. The SCX24 motor is not yet available here in Europe, but the others with 70 and 55 turn, I guess. So probably I will make an order from Mofo RC, or I will simply go back to a barrage motor. I don't know, I checked all my barrage motors and I found not all of those 50 motors to have the wrong mounting pattern to the SCX24 stock motor. So that's the SCX24 stock motor. I know the Ox motor, the Americans like a lot, does have the same mounting pattern for the screws, but that's not available here in Europe either, and including shipment and customs, that's quite a lot. The barrage motor does have the opposite mounting pattern. I do only have one. I can't show it to you because it's in my ECX barrage. But also the RGT motor, what's probably the same motor, the RGT barrage motor, the 50 motor, does have the opposite mounting pattern. So you need to make new holes in the plate or order this plate. And also the Injora 050 motor or barrage motor does have the opposite mounting pattern. You need the plate. You get the plate with this motor. I ordered it, I guess, from an Injora shop. But to my surprise, I found that the Hobby Plus 050 torque motor does have the same mounting pattern as the SCX24 stock motor. So you will not need a special mounting plate or drill holes into the stock plate, because that's the same. And the spare motor for the ECRC Patreon Arizona, that's super difficult to get. I found one at Hobby King Hong Kong warehouse. This does also have the same mounting pattern as the SCX24 stock motor. So if you get your hands on those motors, the Hobby Plus or the ECRC 050 motor, they will probably perform the same as nearly all of those motors. Only this Ox motor should be better, and maybe the new Furitech brushed motor I will also not order, because shipping and customs spoil each deal. So you would get along without drilling holes and buying a new plate with the ECRC motor and the Hobby Plus motor. Still not sure what I will do. Such a cool truck, such a heavy truck, such a sturdy truck. It's super sturdy and everything works super nice. I lied to you. I did say that's the only original SCX24 part, the electronics mounting plate I used, but I also used an old battery plate from an SCX24, a part of it, to make the battery mounting place, but I would also have been able to print something out that did already make it. So that's a little bit of an SCX24 too. Tiny 180 2S lipos, but can mount this here. Battery sits super sturdy and is fixed. You can't move it, so that's super nice. And of course, if you would like, you could use larger batteries, and here's a lot of room for batteries. Guess I'll finish this video. Bench talk. Do not have something really interesting for you. I do have a ton of different tires now. RC 4-wheel drive, Injora, and whatever. Probably 20 different types of micro tires at least. Maybe I should make a tire test or a crawler test, stock SCX24 against upgraded Hobby Plus, whatever. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. I'll be back.